So we're talking about the United Nations Human Rights Council. So we can just say that and move on, and the average listener would assume that this is some righteous version of like the Justice League, basically, in the United Human Rights Council.
Supposed to be, yeah.
What are the countries that sit on the Human Rights Council?
I mean, over the last few years, we've had representation from Nigeria. And for those that may not be familiar with either IPSI's work or may not be familiar with what's going on the ground in Nigeria, there is a genocide, an actual genocide taking place today. But then you have a country such as Nigeria that is not only sitting on the council, but also is chaired. You've got a country like Iran. I mean, I roll my eyes. Countries such as China, again, I roll my eyes. It's an absolute mockery.
Afghanistan,
what's supposed
the
to be
Republic of Korea, absolutely.
Correct.
Go ahead.
I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on and on.
The thing is, it's not just that these countries kind of have these, blotches or whatever, like Qatar. Or slavery. The same countries that sit on the Human Rights Council own and trade slaves.
Correct.
You guys are slave traders. It's more than just hypocrisy. It's evil. Once upon a time, Black American Supporting Israel Committee in the 70s, when it was formed by Bayard Rustin, they called out this kind of stuff. And this was something that resonated personally with me, because at first, when I read about it, it was great. They talked about the ties between the Black and the Jewish community, and how there's certain things that the Arab countries did in Africa that actually affected Black Americans here. And that's why. But then it went beyond just the quote unquote Black issues. It was, here are the human rights violations. Here is how the UN has lost all credit, or should have lost all credibility, right? Here are the violations that these other countries commit on a daily basis with no accountability. Now can sit here and talk about Israel. So they went beyond just what's happening to Black people to, this is a very corrupt organization from the ground up. This just further shows how deep the corruption goes in the United Nations, that they would have such countries as gatekeepers of human rights.
And it's not just a once-off in relation to the council or other organs of the United Nations actually being hypocrites in relation to human rights, and frankly using Israel and the situation in the Middle East as a scapegoat for real human rights issues that are going on. This is something that's been taking place for decades. And later on in the program, we're going to have a look at the genocide that happened in Rwanda about 30 years ago, because there's a link there with the current events in Israel, and we'll be able to discuss and see that even then the United Nations failed the people of Rwanda. And this is one of many, 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 many accounts in relation to the United Nations. Several weeks ago, we had a conversation about UNRWA and the role that UNRWA has been playing in not just preventing the war from coming to an end, but actually assisting and being a very active player in the atrocities that were committed on October 7th.
Yeah.
So the United Nations is a cesspool of hate, not only for Israel, but it's a cesspool of hate for real issues that it should be paying attention to, that impact not only refugees across the world, but real victims of human rights abuses.